Time's up, I done touchdown. I'm high stepping for the touchdown. I stay repping for the slums where the young bucks started loaded up.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to the AFC South Fan Battle Podcast. My name is Samantha Wernet. Joining us tonight for the Colts, we have Harish Nookala.
Yo, baby, it's football season. Let's go.
Joining us for the Texans, we have Matthew Briggs.
Number one draft coming up. Let's do it. 2022.
Joining us for the Titans, we have Duke's Mayonnaise. Duke's Mayonnaise, because we don't have a Titans commentator tonight. But we do have a special guest. Before I introduce our special guest, however, I have a couple other special guests that are going to join us for just a second. Now, we are on a Zoom call, so I have our special guest covered up. So I got my kids, Brianna and Jackson, here. So, Brianna, come over here into the webcam real quick and come close to the microphone. Tell me, what is your favorite... Got to stand up so they can see you.
Sure.
What is your favorite memory from a Jaguars game?
I'm not sure really. The time when I high-fived Calais Campbell?
Yeah.
That was pretty nice.
That was nice. He's huge, huh?
Yes.
He's way bigger than you thought he was.
Yeah, he's super tall.
Come here, sit in my lap. What's your favorite memory, Jackson? Back up a little bit.
Do you remember when we were on the sideline and that football player high-fived me?
Yes. Do you remember what his name was?
Matt Overton.
Guess what? Look who's on the podcast tonight. Matt Overton. Can you believe it?
It's been a few years, hasn't it?
Yes, I really am.
Yeah, I remember that photo. I remember the game and everything, man. How you doing?
Good.
Yeah, it's exciting to be on here and have a little fun with everybody and talk some football and to meet you again.
Yep. You're going to give him an on-air high five? Give him an on-air high five.
There you go, man.
That's the number one thing that I tell Matt. Welcome to the
Thank
podcast.
you.
That's the number one thing, though, that I tell these players, like we were talking about in pre-production, like that, those kind of instances, like he could have ended up being a Texans fan because he loves JJ Watt so much, but
Sure.
And me meeting Tom McManus in the third grade, if he would have been a jerk to me, who knows, you know? Yeah. And actually it's funny because the Calais Campbell thing, that was the first preseason game. Okay. And he came by and high-fived her and he was so upset, right? Because he didn't actually like make a connect. Yeah. He was probably 5 at the time.
Yeah.
And then it was like a couple games later, she wasn't down there with us. And then, you know, he was like, guess what? And like bragging about it. But that was such a cool thing. So
sure.
Anyways, hi. How are you?
Matt Overton. Long time overdue.
Long snapper, former Colt, Titan, and Jaguar.
Yeah.
Well, who cares? It's AFC South Fan Battle. Come on. Nobody cares about Seahawks. I'm just saying. But so I'm going to start off questioning.
Sure.
It's going to be a tough one. Which was the best and why is it the Jaguars?
Out of the three teams, in my experiences?
Yes.
I mean, they're all extremely special to me. I mean, I got to go with Indy just because, you know, I was there for 5 years and really got to solidify myself there in the community and called it home for 8 years and met my wife there who was a cheerleader and I mean, incredible memory. So Indy's special to me, but you know, my time in Jacksonville was kind of a turning point in my career where, you know, it being a part of the 2017 team when things turned around and made it to the AFC Championship that year and when everyone had counted us out. So, I mean, going to a familiar team, obviously staying within conference was a little strange just because, you know, like, you know, I honestly didn't want to go to Jacksonville. I wanted to go to a team who I thought was going to be a contender. And of course, my time when the crazy thing is when I first got to Jacksonville, I got there probably week 2 of training camp. Carson Tinker got hurt for the year, so I filled in for him. And I was there right when like all the chatter was, you know, they're going to cut Bortles, they're going to get Eli Manning because of the Tom Coughlin connection and you know, Bortles can't do this, he can't do that. The receivers are all disgruntled. You know, this is and really the kind of the glue that kept everything together was, guys like Calais Campbell and
I miss him so much.
Guys that they brought in through, AJ Boye. It just was those guys you can really, pillars of the team that you can build a team around. I know they're not offensive players, but they still had the respect of everybody in the locker room. And then so I'm kind of coming in when things are just kind of crazy. The training camp is hard in Jacksonville. It's hot every single day. At the time, there was no indoor facility, so you're outside regardless. You just got to kind of play around the rain and the weather. And I think we had 2 joint practices in a row. We were a week in New England, a week with Tampa at home. So it was just a grueling training camp. And guys were just, because Tom Coughlin runs a tight ship. He don't mess around. He's hardcore. He's old school. So it's pads every day. It's, up at 5:30 every morning. You're there until 8 p.m. at night. So it's long. So guys were just, the culture there is not about winning. It's like, let's hope we win, and it's like, let's try to figure this thing out. No, honestly, because I came from Indy where, several teams that can, they expect to win every year. And Indy's one of those teams. And then you go to Jacksonville, it's like, they're praying every night for, a 500 season or whatever the case.
I'm just happy to go 9-7 every
No,
year.
yeah. I mean, it's hard. I mean, it's hard to win, but when I got there, it was just like the house was a mess. So it's like, what am I my first impression was like, hardly knew anybody on the team.
The reason why we laughed was because we had about 2 months ago, we had Rashawn Jennings, and he said the exact same thing.
Yeah, but that would have been in 2009.
Pretty much word for word. So that's why.
But it was one of those things where I'll never forget our first game that year was against Houston on the road, and we blew the doors off Houston.
Oh, I remember that.
And,
that was Deshaun Watson's first game. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was we lost. We lost our key receiver in the first drive of the game, tore ACL.
Allen Robinson, right?
A-Rob.
Yes.
And it was like, oh my, here we go. Here's just, the downhill spiral. But we scored 40 points. Leonard Fournette had a great game. His rookie debut, Bortles was making plays and our defense the Saxonville started, we had 5-6 sacks that game. And
what's sad about that?
Dante Fowler and Yannick were going crazy, and Calais obviously, and Telvin Smith, and
what's sad about that? None of those people are still there. None.
I know, and again, it just started. It started an incredible season, and we just kind of kept rolling. No one believed in us, and even not being familiar with Jacksonville and kind of just the culture that the city brings regarding Jaguars football is. It's a kind of just a melting pot of people from all over because of the military base and all that kind of stuff. So you have people in the city that are fans of teams from all over. And so I think the nucleus is obviously Jags fans, but they've been losing. So it's you don't have that hardcore, support all the time just because they've been through, hell and back, every single year for a long time since 99 or whatever it was.
And really all of us,
the glory days of Coughlin being the head coach, so that season was good. And I remember I don't know, we were probably 5-2 or something around that point. And I remember being at the Publix, grabbing something to eat. And I must have I had a Jags hat or a shirt on or something like that. And the grocery clerk was like, did the Jags win this week? I'm like, yeah, maybe you're not paying attention. Yeah, but it's just the Jags. It's you never know. They have a fluke thing, but that was kind of when I share my experience with Jacksonville, that was kind of the fans were so skeptical. It's we're winning, it's exciting, but is this really real? Are they the real deal? And I think it was until we beat Seattle, which is week 10 or week 11 of the season, where I think the nation was starting to take, note of wow, Jacksonville they're at the time, I said, 8-2, 7-3, whatever it was. We're rolling. We smoked Indy. I mean, they didn't have Andrew Luck, but we blew the doors off them.
We do that at home every year anyway. So
I wanted to talk about that, but
yeah, but it was, like I said, 2017 was special, being a part of the team that kind of took that turn. and made it all the way to the AFC Championship. Honestly, I really feel like, man, just a few plays kept us out of the Super Bowl.
You mentioned the AFC Championship. So, question to you: was Miles Jacks down?
No.
Thank you.
No way.
The 2017 season had a really big. I cried a lot.
Yeah.
Because I was pregnant.
Yeah.
And it was all happiness. Like one of the games, the playoff game, the Bills at home. I didn't see. I sit in 143, so it was further downfield, so I couldn't see it. So I came home. My husband's not a football guy, ironically. So I come home and I'm rewatching the play where they went down, and then I ended up watching to the end of the game because it was in the fourth quarter. And I'm sitting on the couch and I'm like, my husband's like, "Are you crying?" And I was like, "Yes, I'm just so happy."
Oh yeah, it was cool to see the. I mean, I know the Bills traveled really well that game, but like, man, just having that entire stadium packed and when that place is filled up, man, they're great fans and it's loud and you got to remember, like I came into the league in 2012, so my first year was, we played the Jags, twice a year, once, on the road, and my memories of. I don't even know what the stadium name is now. They've changed it so many times, but
TIAA now.
It's still TIAA Bank.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like when I got signed to Jacksonville, what's some of my first thoughts that went through my head are like, free beer for a ticket, ticket admission. Like, I mean, that's what I remember. There was a game, and again, who wants to sit in the stands at 1 p.m. on September, October? Dude. It's awful. And I remember we were playing. I was with the Colts. We're playing there one game, and all the upper deck is tarped. There's probably, maybe 20, 30,000 fans, maybe and this is a big maybe. And I remember they're just promoting $1 beer day or whatever it was just to get anybody in the stands. And that was just my, coming from, a winning culture to, a losing culture. That was just my thoughts. I initially went in. And so that's why I'm just so grateful that my experience there in Jacksonville was a really, really good one. And I know 2018 was tough because we had actually 18 and 19 were big letdowns because the expectation was so high after 2017. And we had the best defense in the league for, the 2-3 years there going in. And then slowly but surely just things fell apart. And, obviously the Coughlin and Marone drama happened and Caldwell stuff and guys just started,
dropping like flies.
And it's unfortunate because, I think that they had a really good thing going on. Obviously, you never let Jalen Ramsey walk. That's a generational talent. But I think right now
I've never heard of her.
They've
never heard of that woman.
To give Jacksonville some praise, I think they've probably quietly have had the best offseason this year by any team, just with Urban and obviously Trevor Lawrence and just the guys they brought in. I think they're going to start making some noise, and they're a young team. I mean, they really have to rebuild, but I think Jacksonville should be excited for what they have got going on. Yeah,
like you said, I think they did too because, they had a great draft class. They did some good draft picks, but the low key names like Griffin on the defense side, that's a great pickup for him.
Oh, he's a great cornerback, yeah.
And then Jones as a receiver with veteran presence. I think it's a good pickup for the guys.
No doubt. And they got some good young guys there with, obviously the running backs they got. And, I know there's they got some really good O-linemen with Linder and Robinson kind of anchoring. And then what was his name? Taywan? Is that his name?
Taywan Taylor.
Yeah. Really good nucleus guy. AJ Cann, Tyler Shatley, old veteran guys that have been there for a long time now. So, it's really, really nice. I mean, Chark is a beast, and
Chenault.
So if they could just get some guys defensively rolling and get some of those edge rushers going, and obviously,
they're going to win.
Probably going to be all right. They're going to be all right.
They're going to win at least 2 games this year against the Texans. So at least they got 2 wins. So.
That's our first week.
Yeah.
Apparently they'll win.
You can't ever count them out, man.
Apparently they'll win one against Indy and Jacksonville because for whatever reason we can't seem to win in Jacksonville. I was actually going to be my question for you. What is that like when it's man, we haven't won in so and so place in 17,000 years? What what is that feeling like, especially, knowing Jacksonville, being in Jacksonville, and then translating that from your previous experience in Indy? I mean, Indy hasn't won in Jacksonville since 2014. So, like, what is that? Is that something the players think about, or the staff, or is that something that comes to mind?
Yeah,
And what is that dynamic like?
I mean, they always talk about, like, during free agency, like what lures free agents to certain organizations. Obviously, a big paycheck is one thing, and no state income tax in Florida. So a lot of guys look at that kind of stuff. But when you talk about like a winning culture, guys want to win, especially if they're later in their career and they've never really experienced anything. Like, look at Puslesny. When I was with him his last year, like, he's been in the league, 12 years at the time. And, that 2017 was his first time ever experiencing the playoffs. Mercedes Lewis, another guy, like, play forever, and now he's in an organization that, like, they expect to make it to the NFC Championship and get to the Super Bowl every year, So you go from these teams, and they're just completely different ran organizations. And, you have, Shad is a great team owner, but he's relatively new to the game, and a lot of these other organizations that have had the same owner for decades, and really involved in the organization and team and the communities behind them 100%. And so, I mean, it's hard when you're not winning, like, it's just that's what it's all about. It's all about winning. And that's what the fans expect, because they pay their hard-earned money every year to come support them and whatnot. And
too much money.
And Jacksonville is just crying for, just, that's why Tebow, like, the whole thing with Tebow, like, people can hate all they want, but that dude's a hometown hero, and he's going to bring people into the stadium. Whether he's on the sideline as a coach, whether he's playing 2 reps or he's a starter, like, people are going to come see him because he has that much impact in that community. And I mean, from a business standpoint, that was one of the greatest, things that they could have done to bring him back with Urban, and they have a lot of history, but like that dude's a hometown hero.
That's the thing. That's the thing about Jacksonville. So when you were talking earlier about seeing the tarps and stuff, so the biggest problem is that, like, the culture, there's not culture in Jacksonville. Like, 2012, like, I grew up here, right? And it's rare that you see somebody grow up here. Now you do more. So people my age, like, we're getting into our 30s. I know you would never guess it, but I'm just kidding. But getting into our 30s now, we can afford it. We can buy season tickets. We can, do all these things. We're taking our kids. We're naming them after the team. Like, who would do that? It's stupid. Yeah. So that was me, by the way. But anyway, so we are now getting the culture and creating the culture. But it's been tough. It sucked, to be the laughing stock. But we hear it over and over, like, there's no more tarps and, the whole London thing. But I do have a question for you about the situation. Like, who do you think now, like, the kickers have always been, like, isn't that sad? Like, the kickers have always been the star players of the Jaguars. Lambeau tweeted some stuff out a few weeks ago, calling out the NFLPA, and saying, like, sarcastically, we're all one team, right? And do you think there's something going on with that? Like, we heard from Ramsey this week, was on a podcast, and he basically called out the organization, and it was all Dave Caldwell and a little bit of Coughlin. Do you think there's still bad, like, how do I put it without?
I don't know. I don't know what Lambeau tweeted. Is it in relation to the COVID protocol, or is it?
No, this was weeks ago. This was about a month ago. That I do want to unpack with you, though, for sure. I do want to talk about that.
So Lambeau directed some tweets at the organization. I don't know what he said. So
he tweeted them and said something about, I've called you guys and it's been 3 weeks with no answer. And then they were like, oh, well, thank you for writing us. Cause they're like, are acting like a customer service line where you call them and they don't pick up the phone, but they'll respond to your tweet kind of thing. And then he goes, thanks. Also, all one team, right? But then now we've got
NFLPA is what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Not the Jags.
No, not the Jags, to the NFLPA. But I'm like, that raises some suspicions, like, well, what's going on? Because then we have Rojas in there. So who do you think is going to be the starter? Is Lambeau done because of his hip? Is there still animosity and he wants to leave? Like, have you heard?
No, Lambeau's the guy. I know he's had some injuries the past couple of years, but I mean, the dude's like 98% or whatever he is over the past 3 or 4 years. And he's made a name for himself within that organization and community. He loves living there. I know that for a fact. And I know he's been pretty, I haven't talked to him personally in a while, but I know how competitive he is. And I'm sure he's just really upset about the injuries he's had. Landing on IR for like 2 years in a row. But when he's on the field, man, he makes his kicks. So that's all that matters. And, I know people love Scobie and all that kind of stuff. And Lambeau's right there with breaking all the, if he's there long enough, break all the records and get some more all pros and whatnot if he keeps it up, man. So, Lambeau and Mastic and Logan Cook. I mean, those three guys are pretty dialed in. And I know Rosas is a proven veteran and whatnot and brings competition to the table, but I mean, that's
worry about
that's Lambeau's. I guess there's always the chance of injury because everyone has that chance, but it's Lambeau's job to lose for sure. I mean, he's done a great job.
I'll cry. I love him so much. I'm like, no.
Okay, settle down.
I know. Listen, I love any football player that loves Jacksonville. Like, I don't even acknowledge Jalen Ramsey as a person because
you need to love Logan Cook then, dude. Logan Cook loves. He's not as his presence on social media isn't
love him.
Brand, but
Scobie,
that
love
dude
him.
fishes every day and golfs and he loves Jacksonville. So.
Will he yell at a random Duval if somebody yells at him? Then I love him.
Yeah.
Jalen Ramsey, never heard of her. So whatever. Never heard of her.
We have a question. Hold on. We have a question from the group. You missed him when you left the Colts. You went to Jacksonville. That year before you went to Jacksonville, who did you want to go to?
Oh.
Well, so my last year in Indy was 2016, and then it was in 2017 that I got released, and then signed that summer with Jacksonville. So when it came down to it, there were some teams that had called and showed a lot of interest in bringing me in. And I'm not exaggerating when I say this. And I kind of share this with my testimony when I talk about Jacksonville and kind of my transition there. But, if I were to make a list of like 32 teams or 31 other teams to go to, Jacksonville was 31. Again, I wanted to experience something new. I wanted to get out of conference. I wanted to, go to the NFC or something like that. And at the time, like I said, Jacksonville was just, 2 and whatever, 2 and 14, or always had the first top 3 picks in the draft. And, a lot of it, you look at just the stability of the team, they're shuffling through head coaches, they're shuffling through coordinators, they're shuffling through quarterbacks, all that kind of stuff. And when you're looking as, selfishly, you want to go somewhere that's like, in line and a competitor and someone who can win and, go somewhere that, you're going to be competitive. And so, I'm not afraid to share that I didn't want to go to Jacksonville, but God took me there for a reason. And it turned out to be one of the greatest things of my life to experience.
Awesome. Heard that. Awesome. Yeah. Harish.
Crazy how things work out.
Yeah, greatest thing ever to be a 1-year wonder. Is that what I heard? Is that correct?
Hey.
Hello?
It was a great year.
What he said was he couldn't wait to get to Jacksonville because he knew that at least then he'd be winning at home playing in a Colts game because, they can't beat the Colts.
Listen,
the Colts can't beat them in
the crazy. When I talk about my experience with all the teams, right? Like I've been on some really good teams in Indy. 2017 in Jacksonville was really good, and then this past year here in Nashville with the Titans. When I was with Indy, we could never beat the Steelers or New England. But when I went to Jacksonville, we always beat the Steelers and we beat New England. Obviously, we lost in the playoffs in the AFC Championship in New England, but it was weird. I was on a really good team in Indy, but we could never beat certain teams. But then when I went to Jacksonville, we never lost to those teams that I couldn't beat before.
But then you can win.
And then when I was in Jacksonville, we never beat the Titans. Titans always beat us.
We never have.
And then when I was in Indy, we never lost in 5 years. Well, when I was there, we broke the record for like most consecutive wins against a conference team. I think it was like 16 games in a row. that we had won against the Titans. And so, but it's weird how things like kind of shift, like, it's just weird,
Yeah.
Yeah. Titans.
So at least I got to say, like, I beat Pittsburgh on the road, beat New England at one point. Because in Indy, we got blown out by those teams. Those were like the teams that we could never get past. So
yeah,
I think that was the year. Was that the year too that you played with us when we beat the Steelers, when everybody sent Ben Roethlisberger turnovers, like actual pastry turnovers?
Yeah, it was the year we beat them twice at home.
I actually I went on Wikipedia and I made him a quarterback for the Jaguars. It was great.
Yeah, that was he threw like 5 picks.
And you know what? I don't even care. I'll take one of those seasons every 10 years. Whatever. Good enough.
But you speak of the Titans. So last year you played for them, right?
Yeah.
So how did y'all find that punter last year? Did he come to your house delivering a FedEx package? And you're like, hey man, I need a punter. Would you come play with us? Like how did that happen?
With what are you talking about though? Like
the punter from FedEx that they picked up.
Oh, Trevor. Well, okay.
I know. I'll just give him.
I know. We need to pump the brakes a little bit because fans get crazy. They think that like the NFL goes out and just picks up dudes that are doing some odd job that has no business being on the field. Listen,
well,
Trevor.
It's funny.
Daniels,
we actually had a guy. We have a
Trevor,
commentator that works for FedEx.
Because Trevor played for the Texans the year before, the entire season.
Right, and he was drafted, and he also was drafted by the Jaguars, was he not?
No, I don't think he was drafted.
I thought he was.
But he played. He's a local guy. He played at Tennessee. So when he had the COVID thing, like really messed up everybody. Right. So the fact that he was local, they just brought him in on the practice squad. And when Kern got hurt, he filled in. And so we had him. We played. Me and Trev played like 3 games together before Brett got back. So people are like, oh my gosh, he signed a UPS truck driver. No, he's an NFL bona fide free agent that just so happened to be working another job until he got his call.
Like I get that.
I mean, for years I did odd jobs off of like Craigslist until I got picked up.
Oh, I get that, but we just gotta give Titans fans a hard time,
No, I know, I get it, but I hate the fans that like don't understand like the reality of like these are multi-billion-dollar team organizations. They don't just go hire some Joe Schmo off the road because they think he can punt a football. No, the
Titans did draft a professional wrestler this year.
They didn't draft him. They signed him as a free agent.
Or signed him.
Big different.
Yeah.
Big difference.
We like to pick on. You know what, Matt Overton? You sure are defending the Titans a lot.
Yeah.
Were they your favorite team to play for?
Well, they're my most recent. So like, and I live in Nashville, so I got to show.
You still got it's like you haven't washed.
Memories are fresh. The memories are fresh.
Very, very fresh.
You haven't washed off the crud yet. But they were your least favorite, right? Yes. Oh. Okay, moving on. So I've
won a conference championship with every single team, so I have a special place in my heart for everybody.
And that's why you didn't come to the Texans, because you want to win one. And you knew the Texans weren't going to win, so I get it.
The joke is, if I go to Houston, I got to win my 4th AFC.
And you're not going to do it with us.
AFC South championship.
Yeah,
but they got John Weeks there. You have one of the best snappers in the league. And
I love me some John Weeks.
Yep.
Well, Matt, let's ask you some tough questions. That's not tough. It's a differing of opinions. There's been a bunch of players coming out since you have recently left the league, and you were playing with COVID, right? Not with COVID, you know what I mean? During the time of COVID.
Yeah.
So, a lot of people don't know this. I don't know how they don't, but they have tiers now in the NFL. Like players are tier 1, coaches, stuff like that. And then you have like tier 2 and tier 3, like media is tier 3, et cetera, to kind of stop the spread. And so everybody kind of stays in a bubble, almost like a bubble together. But then now they are pushing the vaccines. And I know that you have been very vocal about how you feel about it. Now there's a lot of players coming out that are talking about retiring. DeAndre Hopkins is one of them, who actually came out and said he's not going to do it. He's considering retiring. So what are your thoughts on this? Like, have you heard anything? Like, is the union speaking up, or, how do you feel about the mandated vaccines or the push for it, I should say?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously a hot topic right now, not just within football, but our entire country and world, right? So it's just one of those things where, like, last year, it was new for everybody. So we had pretty strict, COVID protocols, strict to the point where everyone was tested every single day before you step foot in the facility. Close tracing contacts. So we had sensors on us all the time. And so we could not sit next to or stand next to a teammate or staff member for more than 15 minutes, I believe, at a time. So, if me and the kicker and punter are hanging out on the field, somebody's going to come grab us when it gets close to that 15-minute, because they're monitoring everything on the computers and all that kind of stuff and these tracking devices. And literally they're ripping people apart, like, get away, and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, it's pretty crazy. Obviously, we're in a mask. We're separated indoors. We can't eat together in the cafeteria. Can't shower together. Can't drink. I mean, it just did everything. And when I first got to the Titans, I was on the practice squad for like 4 weeks maybe. So I was actually, my locker was outside. So I was in the COVID section, or the COVID restriction section of. They wanted to keep, essentially what they want to do is keep the practice squad as far away from the team as much as possible, because if one of the active players gets tested positive, they want the practice squad guys kind of on their own, and they can activate those guys and replace those guys who test positive. And that's what happened with me. I got brought on the practice squad, and the snapper tested positive. Long story short, and I ended up getting activated, but like I was still, I was at first kind of practicing on my own. So I'd come into the facility. I'd come in the morning, first thing in the morning, I would test. As soon as I was cleared, I get a text on my phone saying you're cleared to enter the facility. I didn't show up to the facility until after the entire team had practiced. So let's say practice gets at 2, I show up at 3, I go on the field. I'm not even out there with any coaches. Like, they're keeping everybody separate until I really got solidified with the active roster in like week 7, I think it was, when I started like being now my locker was in the real locker room. But even in the real locker room, there's every other locker is vacated. It's plexiglass partitioned in between each locker. And so, like, the rules where you can't be in the locker room next to another teammate for X amount of time. Again, the 15-minute rules kind of thing.
It's so crazy.
So it got a little crazy with somebody tested positive, and they're going to go back and they're going to trace who was the closest contact, and then they're going to look at them. And so that's what happened later in the year. I think it was week 17 with Houston. We had Gostkowski, our kicker, tested positive, and his close contact was Brett Kern, our punter. So Brett Kern got sent home the entire week, didn't even practice. Gostkowski was on COVID list, so he couldn't even play because it's a 10-day mandatory quarantine. And then, like, his wife tested positive, so like now it's even stricter. So it's just a kind of a domino effect. And for the most part, I think the season went off without any major hiccups for the most part. I mean, considering what we were going through as a country, and I mean, everything was new, everything was crazy. But we tested every single day before every game. After we got home from it, we would land at like 3 a.m. from an away game. We test right there getting off the plane in the concourse area. And so now, obviously, we have the vaccinations available. So the COVID protocols for the most part are pretty much the same. Like, a lot of virtual meetings. If you don't have to be around guys, they're not going to put you around them outside of practice. So everyone's kind of separated in meetings, and the mask. If you're unvaccinated, you got to wear the mask, and they're really putting unvaccinated guys through the ringer. They're making it really, really hard on them as far as what they can do, how they can participate, like the travel protocols. They can't go out. They can't leave their home throughout the year. As far as like going out to a restaurant to eat with their family, they can't see family before or after a game. And then the fines that they're going to hand down are like incredibly astronomical. So that you're going to have an amount of, it's like there's some teams that are like 50-60% vaccinated. So you have a fairly large number of guys on some teams that are unvaccinated, and then you have some teams that are like 90%. So you're looking at, let's just say 500 guys across the league, or less than that, maybe 300 guys across the league that are unvaccinated, and even some coaches, or staff, whatever the case may be. But I believe it's a personal choice. And I know this last memo last week really felt like guys were just kind of pushed into a corner and they're mandating it. And that's when guys kind of start putting their knucks up and like, all right, well, if you're a star player like DeAndre Hopkins, like he's a guy that can go out on a limb and say, hey, I'm going to retire then. Screw you guys. I'm not going to get vaccinated. But a lot of guys aren't in that position to say anything. So there's going to be, I'm sure, here with as training camp opens tomorrow, you're going to see more guys getting vaccinated. But the interesting, where the ugliness comes now is like Frank Reich, the head coach of the Colts, tested positive for COVID today, and he's been sent home. I think he's going to miss the first full week, and he's vaccinated. So he's going to miss the entire first week of training camp, and he's a vaccinated guy. So now all these questions are being posed like, hey, like if the vaccinated guys are testing positive and potentially spreading it around other guys, then why aren't they being reprimanded, or why aren't they, getting the harsh backlash that we receive as unvaccinated players? So the guys that are being vocal are coming out against our PA for the most part because they feel like our PA never really took a stand to, first of all, take a vote amongst the players. It was kind of just the NFL came out with their memo, and the PA just didn't even bat an eye. It was almost kind of this unwritten agreement that happened, like maybe behind the backs of the players, and that's where they.
Wow! So that was never brought to like any sort of like not up for discussion.
Again, I'm not a part. I'm not a player rep. I'm not a part of those conversations. But from what I understand, it was never proposed to the players as a whole to kind of again, they're not mandating that you get vaccinated, but they're
pretty much are.
They're pushing the narrative. They're pushing that if you're not going to get vaccinated, the hammer is going to come down extremely hard, and the hammer is going to come down on the owner with all these fines, like $70 million fine if they forfeit a game that they have to pay to the other team or whatnot. So I mean, there's just. And then guys are just like, they're upset because now they can't see their families. They can't, they're allowing fans at training camp that aren't proving that they're vaccinated. They're allowing full capacity at the games that aren't, you don't have to prove that you're vaccinated. So it's like, how come you're just like taking it out on the players when, and we know it's all about the bottom dollar. It's all about it's all about money.
The narrative and to push it and I get that. My biggest thing is like, what about the guys who've gotten maybe like had COVID? Like I know, not to put all my business out there, but don't have the vaccine because I've had it allegedly twice. So my thing is my doctor told me pretty much don't get it until you don't have antibodies anymore because we don't know, like we're going to put it in your DNA twice kind of thing. So what about guys that have like,
and that's
any type of clotting issues or anything and their doctor has told them they can't get it. So.
All right,
it's this. Go ahead.
Oh, that was going to be one of my questions. Was like, it was Justin, one of the Jaguars reps. He wanted to know y'all's profession. Your body is your tool. That's what you use for your profession. So getting a vaccine, that is altering your tool, your body. So I mean, and Sam just
it's one of those things where It's not the fact that we're not, and I'll say it right here. I'm vaccinated, but I'm still posing questions because I think it's a bit unfair that the unvaccinated guys that choose to not get vaccinated are literally just being forced into a corner. And so my stance as a current free agent, because I still want to play, there's no chance in my lifetime that a team's going to sign me if I'm off the street if I'm unvaccinated. So I made that personal decision, about a month ago to get vaccinated because I knew that if there was an opportunity for me to play, the first question that they're going to ask is if I'm vaccinated. And if I'm not, they're not going to bring me in. And that's already been the case for some guys that I know that are free agents. They've had their workouts already canceled because they're not vaccinated. So I made that decision because this is how I provide for my family. Now, if I was already on a team and I was still kind of on the fence about it, I would still feel a little uncomfortable that I'm getting kind of pressed to, take this vaccination when the flu comes around around October, November, the team's like, hey, flu shots are available in the training room. Whoever wants to get it can get it. And that's it.
Yeah. I remember there was one game
we feel like that should be the same thing. Like, listen, like,
yeah,
we are in a very controlled environment as a team already. The protocol is extremely high already. We're safe. I mean, what I say is, like, in 2020, there was nobody vaccinated.
Right.
And no one, unfortunately, no one had any crazy mishaps. Some guys tested positive throughout the year. There was only the Titans team was the only one that had to postpone a game. It all worked out. No other team missed any other games. Nobody, unfortunately, died. I mean, I know there's circumstances out there that are incredibly sad and unfortunate, but in the grand scheme of the NFL, right, it went off in without any hiccups. And that's hard. You know, we looked at the NBA, looked at the baseball, we looked at all the other sports going on.
The Olympics
really had all these really big issues. And the NFL the machine is so much more bigger. We have more guys on each team. Traveling is hard. You know, facilitating 100 guys plus another 100 guys on the staff and all that kind of stuff. It's hard.
A lot more coaches.
So the challenge on the NFL was extremely difficult last year. And so my thing is, like, if 2020 went off pretty well for the most part with nobody vaccinated, just half the team vaccinated is going to be better than it was last year, right? That's my logic. That's the way I look at it. And so again, it's touchy. It's one of those things that it's going to be a hot topic for a while now, and it's going to be really interesting to see how these things play out. Where, you know, if there's a breakout amongst vaccinated players and coaches, how they're going to handle it, as opposed to the outbreak amongst the unvaccinated. Because right now the unvaccinated players already know where they're staying because the NFL memo was directed towards them. There was nothing really directed towards sure, the vaccinated player has a 24-hour, quarantine or whatever. They have to test one time negative and they're good. But to answer your question earlier about, people who have had COVID before, we've heard in the past, the narrative was like, well, if you got COVID, you got the antibodies, you're good. That was told to us this time last year, and now, 12 months later, going into a new season, with the vaccinated readily available for anybody, now things have kind of been twisted a little bit to make us believe, like, well, what we were told last year, how come that's changed so much, in 12 months? And so that's where I think a lot of guys,
especially for you guys, when we're hearing, that's what I'm hearing still.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So why is it different for y'all? That doesn't make any sense.
It's one of those things, man, where I think we're just, it's become very political. So it's politically charged.
Well, we got a question.
It's the hot topic on every news channel, and of course within the NFL locker rooms. And unfortunately, like the guys that I've talked to that are unvaccinated, they feel like they're not a part of the team, and that creates instant division amongst the locker room. And the first thing that a team tries to do early on in training camp is be cohesive and bring the unity. And they do all these activities together and they try to the camaraderie. And that's what it's all about. But right now, it's not going to happen. And
you don't even
it's really going to, when people, if there's an outbreak and people start losing a paycheck, there is going to be some massive dysfunction within locker rooms. I can tell you that. So and it's not even going to be about winning football games anymore. It's going to be about like, hey, I need to protect my money. That's what it's going to be about. And
at the end of the day, it's y'all's job.
Our PA has to make a stand here soon before things get out of control, and really prove to the players that they have their best interests in their back. Because right now they don't feel like the PA has really had their back in the past few weeks.
Well, and it's crazy too, like you were saying about the flu shot and all that. I specifically remember actually being down on the field. I was on the field for all the national anthems, and there was one where the J Fund kids were down there, and those are all kids that are going through chemo and stuff like that. Tom Coughlin's J Fund, amazing, by the way. Check it out, everybody. But Leonard Fournette had come up and was like giving them all high fives and stuff like that. And it turned out, we found out later, I think it was that next day or that night, that he came out of the game because he had the flu. He was vomiting, or maybe he had it before that, So it's like,
well, now it's pretty unsettling for all those kids who could be, potentially
exposed to it. But that was just the flu then. So we're not treating that any different, though. We're freaking out as bad as we are now.
Yeah.
And if the vaccine, like you said, you have it, if that works for you and you get it for your purpose, but
yeah,
I don't know. Pushing anything on anybody is scary to me.
Well, that's my stance. And that's where I haven't really dove. I mean, I'm not knowledgeable by any means. I don't claim to think I know all the scientific data and all the back and all that kind of stuff. I'm just very, against guys being forced, to do something they don't want to do. And they had that. I just wish that guys had the decision and it be, every decision be respected.
With you my body, my choice, right?
With you saying forced, we got a question from Chris Worrell. He said, it's forced or is it pressure vaccination?
Well, of course it's not forced. It's just, if you read, I don't think by law you can force anybody to get the vaccination.
Or you can highly pressure somebody.
And I know that there's corporations out there that are if you're a first responder or in the medical field, they're starting to really press, nurses and, doctors and, law enforcement officers and anybody that's within, that kind of field to be vaccinated. I know there's a lot of craziness going on with that, with, nurses against being vaccinated and all kind of stuff. But there's also a lot of people that are for it, so we have this divide in almost every field across everything, so when it comes to NFL, if you read the memo that the NFL put out last Thursday, I believe, it's pretty much directed. It's almost like if you don't get vaccinated, your life is going to be hell for the next 5 months, or you'll get cut. So I mean that's the way our players are feeling, and like I said, I decided to get vaccinated because my only chance. If I was not vaccinated, I wouldn't be brought in, and so I'm not against the vaccination whatsoever. I'm just against the fact that people have to feel like they have to take it and be pressured to do so. So to answer the question, it's not mandated, but it's definitely a pressure situation right now.
Yeah. I'm just ready for COVID to be over.
Well, and the thing is who
has the answer?
The thing is we're talking about football right now, and it's the last thing, we've had such a politically charged 3 or 4 seasons in a row. And it's why can't we just get back to the game that everybody loves? And I know there's outside of football, there's, from a global perspective, there's a lot going on. But I think players and fans alike are just man, let's just go back to the game that we love, get in those seats again, cheer on our favorite fans, our favorite players, and let's get back to, the America's game. I think that's what everyone's kind of just hoping for.
Yeah, that's the thing, in our group. So besides this podcast, we have a Facebook group, and we have you're not allowed to talk politics. We don't, because that's the whole point. We say our diversities unify us. We're all different, but football is what we love, and it's like you said, it's just so exhausting. It's a distraction, and it takes away from guys, come into training camp ready to go and focus on football. And it's just going to be that triggered topic for a long time. It's not going anywhere. I mean, we know COVID's going to be around for quite some time, if not forever, just like the flu is. It's just different strands and all that kind of stuff. So it's just one of those things. I just hope we can adapt as a community within the PA and feel like we got our unions really got our back, and we can come to an agreement with the owners and the teams, and every team every team be ran the same, and just like I said, get back to ball. Yeah, I miss it, and that's supposed to be the point. Well, uplifting stuff. Go ahead, Harish. I know you got a question for Matt. Go ahead, and then we'll let you start logging off, because I know we got to cover some Deshaun Watson that nobody wants to touch with a 10-foot pole. So,
no, I think this is great information. Matt, I'll be honest with you. Prior to your information, now I was kind of I was one of those guys, right? Hey, if you don't get vaccinated, it's you kind of dig your own grave, right? That's one guy against. So I really, really appreciate your insight to this. I think it's really, so if it really feels like I haven't really said much, it's because I was really listening to your perspective.
It's very rare to have him be quiet. So good job.
Yeah.
It's very rewarding to kind of see what it's really like. And, we talk about our diversity unifying us. I think one thing that really does that is having discussions like this and having the ability to be adult about it. We had a discussion about this yesterday with one of the guys in our group, Chris, who's asked some questions, and I just want to thank you for your perspective, because it's kind of changed my mind in the way that I look at this and from our players' perspective. So
I appreciate that. Thank you, man.
Yeah, and Chris actually just commented, players' perspectives are much different than fans, and that's true, because you can sit here with a stake and say, burn it down, get your vaccine or go home. But at the same time, who you see on TV is also a person just like you. So it's very true. It's very true. So
I got a question before you do, Matt. So you were on a team with Pat McAfee, which was, by the way, we're at 160 days tweeting at him until he comes on. We're not going to stop tweeting until he comes on the show. But is his personality in the locker room and outside of the game like it is on this TV show? Like, is he the same person that he is on the show in real life?
I mean, it's pretty close. He's always been. He's always been very loud and very funny and very charismatic and very clever and just one of those guys that, Pat and I played together for 5 years and spent a lot of time together, became very close. So it was, obvious from the moment I met him that the guy was very talented, had an extremely bright future, very smart guy, very, very witty and clever on social media and all that kind of stuff. And, I was kind of cool to see him really start. I mean, he started the Pat McAfee show, like little comedy thing he did like once a week. I was there for like the ground level, like Facebook Friday stuff that he did. And the Kilroy's thing every Tuesday night, like doing his live shows with fans and all that kind of stuff. And so to see, where he's come from in the past like 8 years to a syndicated show and all that kind of stuff. I mean, his platform is incredible, and that's what he's always wanted to be, a WWE wrestler. He always talked about that, and now he's like living his dream. I mean, I know he loved football, but it wasn't like his passion and his everything. And I think when he left the game, people were just calling him crazy. And he made a crazy move, but it was very thought out and planned, and he didn't just do it, on a whim. He had a game plan, and he's executed it extremely well. And a lot of guys admire him because, we talk about life after football. What does that look like? How do you take advantage of your platform and turn it into something even bigger, and he's done that. And a lot of guys, not everyone's going to be able to emulate what he's done, but it definitely encourages guys like, hey, there's life after football. There's fun after football. There's opportunities after football, because, it could be a depressing conversation to be had when the game gets taken from you, whether you're just injured or old or can't do it anymore. But he's given a lot of guys like, here in Nashville, we got Taylor Lewan and Will Compton who do Bussin' with the Boys, and they have a great podcast. And so there's a lot more active players that are coming out, starting to, showcase their personality a little more. And I think fans love it. Because that's what Twitter's for. That's what Instagram's for fans and players to engage and get to know the player behind the mask or whatever you want to call it and off the field. And so, McAfee, he and I had a great time together. And to answer your question, he's not as like, his show is pretty hilarious and he's always been funny, but there was times where he was serious and he went to work and it wasn't all, fun and games all the time. And I got to see like the different personalities of Pat, but for the most part, he is that flamboyant guy. He's outspoken. He's loud. He's funny. Everyone gravitates to him.
I don't remember what team it was, but one of the best tackles I ever seen was that Pat McAfee kickoff tackle where he just blew up that
against Denver.
Denver,
yeah,
that that had to be the best hit you ever seen somebody
Pat
do.
McAfee won over my heart during the draft with his speech about the Titans. That's when I was like, I love this guy. Sign me up.
He is very, very funny. And he's very good at what he's doing what he was meant to do, and it's really fun watching him. Really, just doing all the wrestling stuff now, and I mean, he's living the dream, man. He's doing a great job.
Well, Matt, you're already married, but life after football, you know, Rashad Jennings, our guest from a couple episodes ago, is on Dating with the Stars tonight. He was on Dancing with the Stars. He's just doing all the stars things.
That's cool.
Maybe you could do Dancing with the Stars.
I don't know. Why not? Maybe I'll do like American Idol, try to sing or something.
Do it.
There you go. Hey, I'll be there right there watching.
You should just ask to be a judge on The Voice. And then when they ask
my running joke is that, for a long time I wanted to I've always been like a bachelorette, binge watcher. Shamefully admitting that, but my thing was I either wanted to take over Chris Harrison's job to be the host of The Bachelor Bachelorette, because I think it's a hilarious show. And then, or I wanted to be the Grim Reaper who comes and takes when it's the dramatic, date night where there's two guys and one girl and one guy has to go home. And I wanted to be the guy. I honestly was trying to figure out how I could be the guy that walks into like the hallway and grabs the dude's bag to reveal who gets home. So I've always wanted to be the Grim Reaper of the.
I have an idea for you. I'll let you take my idea.
What's that?
Since you got kids. The Bachelor, Bachelorette, except nannies.
So you gotta
find out who's going to be your nanny.
That's it.
You know how entertaining that would be?
That'd be really good.
Everybody's chasing after your kid and trying to. People would watch the crap out of that. They watch 90 Day Fiance, right?
Hey, whoa!
I watch it too.
Let's not get out guilty pleasures now.
Can you imagine if you have like 20 old ladies trying to fight to get your kid to love them and you don't have to do anything? It's the best show ever.
I'd watch it. That to ABC.
I should.
Matt Overton can be your Grim Reaper.
Yeah. Sorry, Granny, you're out of here. Pick rocks. So, Matt, tell us what you're doing now. Like, where are you at? How do we find you on Twitter? What are you up to?
Like I said before, I'm in Nashville. I was in Indy for 8 years, and so I met my wife, and it was kind of our plan was to settle down here in Nashville, and it just so happened that I played for the Titans, so it kind of sped up that process. So we've been here since last year, and we love it here. And so I've been doing real estate now for 2 years, going on 2 years now almost.
Good job to have right now.
I've been doing real estate while I've been playing, so that's been fun to really kind of venture into something else. And while I'm playing, I'm still trying to play, so I'm a free agent, so staying ready, like my hat says. But started the Stay Ready brand, which is, my little hat and clothing line that I started. Also now that the NCAA has allowed players to use their likeness, image, and name, partnered with some collegiate athletes this year to kind of work on a mentorship program for them to help them with their name and likeness and how to get involved in the community and kind of how to self-brand themselves. Working on the Stay Ready brand, which is just mattovertonbrand.com, and doing a scholarship through that. So it's really kind of a long snapper community that we've created, which is cool. And then, being a full-time dad, my daughter just turned 4 months, so we're just got our hands full with that. But other than, just being a dad and a husband's number one right now. And we're just hoping for an opportunity with football and see how that works out. And, but other than that, man, just life is good. And it's crazy how much your kid takes up your time.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
You don't realize how selfish you've been living for.
Just
forever.
Wait till you have more. Just wait till you have more.
We have it easy with one right now, but it feels like
it's awful.
Everything.
Here's a little inside
around her time. So, but it's the greatest joy. It's the greatest job.
Here's a little inside story there for Matt. You actually kind of helped Sam name her daughter when the Jaguars beat the Ravens in London. that was the night she was conceived. So she said,
Oh,
hey,
really?
let's name her London. So
Yes, my daughter's name is
thank you
London.
for beating the
That was a good win. That was a really good win too.
That was a good win. I
Yeah,
love
Sam thought so
meeting Ravens fans and telling them that. I
We
love
ran
that.
a fake
so
punt.
too.
That was a good fake punt that game and everything. We
actually
all the
did-
stops in that game. That was fun. That was a good.
We
That was a
did
good
her
London. Out of all the
gender-
London trips I've had, that was the
Yeah.
best one I've had. So
Yeah, we actually did her gender reveal during the AFC Championship game, which we lost, but still.
that was it. I don't know.
We
that was a
won.
fun-
We found out we were having a girl, so it was good. But
That's
yeah.
awesome. Yeah.
Well, listen, if you're in Nashville, my cousin's a skydive instructor. If you ever feel like jumping out of an airplane,
My wife's skydived before. I'm sure she's down to do it again.
well, let me know. She can go with her. She's a Jaguars fan, though, as long as you're fine with that.
Well, she's a Colts cheerleader. She got blue and white. She's Colts blue and white all day. So I mean,
Forever.
Well, my cousin was a
it's hard to-
cheerleader,
I mean,
but
she
not
was
a
a-
Jags cheerleader.
I'm gonna hype my wife up a little bit. She was a captain, Pro Bowl cheerleader, so she's got a little resume behind her now. So
Congratulations. That's awesome, man.
she's the horseshoe to heaven was it what they call them or whatever. But she's an indie girl through and through, and she loves
So
her.
why did you take her to Nashville, Matt?
She wanted a winner.
I mean, Nashville's just a fun city to
Wait,
live in.
hold on, Harish. Did you just admit that on air? I asked why.
Right. He wanted a winner. Yeah, his wife was a Colts.
I didn't
cheerleader. He
ask
wanted a
about his
winner.
wife. I said, why did you take her to Nashville? And then you, the Colts commentator, said something about a winner. So are you admitting?
Yeah, Colts win all the time. Winning culture.
I meant about taking his
I
indie
didn't
girl to
take her
Nashville.
nowhere.
the home of the Titans.
It was a mutual agreement to move down here, and so we just made it happen.
Fine.
So the hard thing is going to be, what team does my daughter start rooting for? That's going to be the hard one.
She's going to be a Jaguars fan, calling it.
So, I mean, she was born in Nashville, so she's probably, going to lead more towards being a Titans fan. But then her and I, my wife and I are both, got Colts ties. So she may be a Colts fan. And then if I play with somebody else this year, she's going to be
Watch her be like a Browns fan. Just to like spite.
It may be. I mean,
As long as she's not a Cowboys
I'm
fan,
gonna let
we're
her
good.
decide for herself, and I'm not gonna be pushy on anything. I'm gonna let her decide. She may not even like football, so that may be.
That's not true.
That may be.
That'll be awkward.
Yeah.
Definitely. She's in a football family. She's gonna love football.
Yeah. That's what happened with me. But I remember liking Jeff Gordon because all my family is NASCAR fans and I really didn't care. But they all hated Jeff Gordon. So I was like, I like Jeff Gordon. They were like, what? That's going to be her. I'm calling it now.
All right.
When is her birthday? Like what month was she born?
March 25th.
March. I don't know. I don't do zodiac signs, but I'm just going to say for the show that she's probably going to be stubborn because she's a Aquarius. I don't even know what that is,
I
but
don't know. I
have no idea.
I'm
But
sorry. I really wish I knew
If
that.
she likes football and she's anything like me, I'll probably do it despite just stubborn.
Yeah.
But it's good. Raise strong girls. They're great.
Yeah.
Well, Matt, thank you so much for coming on. I know it's been a couple years in the making.
Hope I did.
I think
did a good
everybody
job
thought
for
we
you
were
guys.
lying
What's
the
that?
whole time. I think everybody thought we were lying this whole time. Not Overton next week. No, next
Matt's
week.
coming sometime. Don't
promise.
worry.
Hope you guys get Pat on here one time. I don't know who runs his social accounts, but maybe he'll see your tweet every now and then.
He's written
He
us.
saw it. Yeah, he's messaged us and he tweeted at us, but every time we
Just
try
let
to
him
set
know,
something
man.
up, he just never, he's
He's a busy man, so you
Oh,
gotta,
yeah,
that's
you
true.
gotta catch him
Don't worry.
on the right day. So hopefully you get an opportunity to talk to him because he's great.
Yeah, he's probably like, oh my God, what can I do to shut you up?
That'll be my
Point.
fangirl moment, by the way.
Yeah, don't
moment we get Pat
go
here.
too crazy.
Oh, it might get a little wild.
Well, I hope your teams all succeed this year and you guys all win the Super Bowl. So you guys can
Except
all
for the
have a
Titans.
great year.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah,
Unless you end up back there, then we wish you the best.
we'll see.
Don't
what
worry,
happens.
That's the only reason.
I'll win the Super Bowl in Madden 22. Don't worry about it.
There you
Just
go.
for you.
Awesome, guys.
Well, Matt, thank you again so
Thank
much
you.
for
Good to
coming
meet y'all
on.
finally, and appreciate the support, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And definitely make sure you check out, give us your Twitter handle too, so everybody can find you.
At Matt Overton _LS. LS is in long snapper. So
and then
same for
Matt,
Instagram, whatever. So it's all the same across all the platforms.
and then MattOvertonBrand.com is where they can find all your
Hats, and I got girl for all the girl dads out there. I got a line, girl dad
Yeah, I
club.
definitely gotta
We do
get one of
cool
those.
little
That'd be my husband.
Dads. Yeah. So we got. I'm a proud girl dad, so we had to show some love to all the girl dads out there.
Oh yeah.
Well,
Yep,
if I have a daughter sometime in the future, I'll definitely make sure to pick one up.
All right, that sounds good, man.
Thank
All
you
right,
again,
Matt.
Matt, so much for coming on. Hopefully we'll see you soon.
Good. Appreciate y'all. Go
Hey,
Jags.
thanks,
Go
Matt.
Colts. Go Titans.
But not the
Oh,
You didn't
All right,
play for
guys.
your team, Matt.
yeah, Matt.
All right, guys. Take care.
Thanks,
All right,
Matt.
thanks,
Bye.
Matt. Bye.
That was awesome.
That was
Very
very
That was
cool
fun.
guy.
That's good.
Very cool guy. Do we want to talk about? There's really not much to talk about. Training camp started this week. Aaron Rodgers showed up and said hi, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, he's resigning!" Like, no duh. So
And then Deshaun Watson showed up, and then the Texans ever traded him. All right, good show. See you guys next
Hey.
week.
Have a good one. Bye.
Yeah.
Actually, real quick, Aaron, didn't they say that they're restructuring Aaron Rodgers' contract so he could be a free agent next year?
yeah, and something about him wanting
Randall
someone
Cobb.
there.
Oh yeah, he
Wow.
wants Brandon Cobb there. Yeah.
Yep.
And then
Which is good for the
Sean
Texans.
Watson showed up. By the way, Pat Storm commented on us early. So Pat
I saw
Storm,
that.
hi.
What's up, Pat?
I'd like Pat Storm, if you're listening, please come on here next week and fill us in on Watson so we could stop reading ESPN because they contradict themselves with every other article. But anyways, Deshaun Watson showed up to training camp.
Hey,
He was going to get charged $50,000.
You're speaking of Pat Storm. I want to say he's the only person that called it that Deshaun Watson was going to come to training camp. Everybody dogged him on Twitter. Everybody dogged him in the media. He's the only one that says he will be there. And
Oh, yeah.
Because you want to be with everybody.
No, I
else,
saw
dude.
it. I saw it too because it was funny because I don't know if it's Schefter or Rappaport that does it all the time. It's like per me, you know.
Yeah.
So I saw a thing from Houston Texan. It was either Texan Storm Report or Texans Unfiltered that came through. I think it was on Facebook. It was like, as I said. I'm like, okay,
That's
calm
awesome.
down, Adam
Well then.
Schefter of the Texans. We get it. We get it.
Are you sure that wasn't Dylan?
I don't know who it was, but it gave me Pat Storm vibes for sure. For sure. But yeah, it came out today that I guess something about Watson, police, some of the girls that are suing did call the police. When did they call? We don't know. Do we even want to get into it? I don't even care.
Not really. I don't.
All right.
even
I mean,
care,
what was there
honestly.
to get into? We already said it like 9,000 times.
I know. I'm so over it. Like, I don't.
Why are we talking about a player that's not even going to be in our division in 2 months? Like, who cares?
We'll see. I don't know who would want to pick him up right now. There's way too much. Like, you just don't know.
I think he's still going to get traded to somebody. I think his value is going to go down, but I think he's going to get traded. I think it's
My only thing is, I
more
guess the
incentive to get him.
Texans just now said that they were open to trading. They weren't open to
A
trading.
combination of 5.
Isn't that weird though? Isn't that weird? Like the timing of when they said
Right.
that.
So to me,
Think about it. They were-
I'm thinking that the Texans know more than we do.
Oh, yeah.
The Texans are low. Yeah.
Right. So
They
they're
know-
like,
they know more
okay,
than they're
now
letting
we're going
on.
to trade you. I think there's either the investigation's coming to an end, B, is going to settle out of court, and he can be traded. That's why they said it's going to take 5 picks. So every team knows, hey, this is what it's going to cost to get him.
I'm sure some team is going to have a clause though, like, hey, we'll sign you, but
If something goes haywire, then
or you are to go to jail, or you
The trade
are
is
unable
voided.
to play, or you are suspended. Like we're not.
We
We're
get
not
the draft
paying.
picks and everything back. Right.
With that being said, I think he ends up in Miami. Even though we've heard Philadelphia,
Miami or
I think-
Philly. I think Miami and Philly are the two.
I think those are like the front runners at this point.
Or Denver.
I guess Denver would work too. I just honestly, I want to
Who's
send him
starting
to
for
like
Denver? We were talking about this earlier. Is it Bridgewater?
Teddy Bridgewater.
Paxton Lynch. I'm just kidding.
Is either Bridgewater or Drew Lock.
I think it's gonna be. Look, I don't think Drew Lock is bad. They gave it. No, I think he does have. I don't know. I think Drew Lock deserves another year. Listen, if Blake Bortles can be the starting quarterback for 6 years, so can Drew Lock.
That's because it's the Jaguars. Calm down.
Fair enough. John Elway hasn't found a quarterback since we gifted him Peyton Manning, so it's not really that far.
But he
off.
stepped down, so it's not John
Oh,
Elway.
did he, Jen?
Yeah.
I don't pay any attention to Denver. They haven't been relevant in forever. Anyway, hey, training camp started. I'm excited. It's football season.
Yes.
Here's me to hoping we stay healthy because we still haven't done it.
5 more Sundays.
Yep. We're almost there. For those of you listening that play fantasy football, do not draft yet. I never understand why people draft right before training camp.
Somebody told me the other day they drafted in July, and I was like, wait.
I read
like
somebody on Twitter said he drafts in March or April because he likes to live life on the edge. I was like, oh God.
Well,
Like,
if you're in a dynasty league, you can draft whenever.
Yeah, dynasty leagues are different. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
No, you know what? I think I might like get Game Pass this year and watch every preseason game. That's how much I missed preseason last year.
Yeah.
Right. That whole 4 weeks of football are like shit. Felt like Dave Chappelle, you know? Like,
no.
I feel like this was the longest off season ever.
It was.
I thought this offseason went by quickly, honestly.
I didn't.
Really?
I think because in the group there wasn't much.
Well, and then last year we were like, are we gonna die? Are we not gonna die? Did China do it? Did the US do it? Is it Trump? Is it Biden? Like there was all this stuff going on, and then after that it was like, oh damn it, nothing to fight about. Now we're just sitting here.
Got shut down.
Except seeing RJ post the same recycled material every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And
that's basically what our offseason was.
That's true.
Oh, if we had our old group, it would have been wild. Whew. Yeah. Imagine. Thanks, Facebook.
We'd probably be 20K right now. So appreciate it, Facebook.
Yeah,
I should be back in 48 hours. Thanks, Facebook.
Well, guys, if there's nothing else to add, training camp, we'll have some updates next week. I hope all of your teams stay safe. And we'll see what plays out with the Watson and vaccination drama. Until then, make sure you like us on Twitter. Find us at AFC SFB. I know we're running a contest right now also. Subscribe to our YouTube. You can win a jersey of your team, like of your choice. It's AFC South Fan Battle on YouTube. And also,
hold on. Except for the Titans, you're getting the Oilers jersey because we don't like nothing to do with the Titans. So.
And Titans commentators out there, if anybody wants to jump on, we're going to start doing Sunday evenings. I know that we're going to have football games, but we're going to do game recaps. You know they're a lot shorter than when we have guests on. So any Titans commentators that want to come on and join us. Titans, Jags, I think we're good for the Colts, but anybody else. So anyways, guys, thank you for tuning in with us, and we will see you next week.
Practice starts Wednesday. Peace.